I came to Prince of Peace as a part-time called pastor just about 3 years ago, but I had been with them earlier for about 5 years. We've known each other. They didn't have a called pastor for the congregation, and we're struggling Sunday to Sunday to find a supply pastor to come and lead worship and preach. And I was one of those pastors in rotation. They embraced me, and I was encouraged by what they were doing. When the time came for them to call a pastor, I am pleased to say I was that person. We spent the first year or so kind of getting into a comfortable way to worship and be together as church. The Lord be with you. We worked on music, we worked on doing worship together, and I was very pleased with how things went. I think there's a strong level of trust, and I really appreciate what God is doing among this small group of people with a very big heart. One of the things I've had the honor of doing is listening to people at Prince of Peace tell me their story. Parts in grief over what's not happening anymore, but hearing that history and their stories has helped me recognize the vitality in this core group that's really stayed committed to keeping this church here. And I think that's key for churches that are looking at part-time ministry and thinking of it as a resignation of something that has to happen because they can't do X or Y and can't afford to have X and Y. That God is still vitally working in the people called to be there. And I see that at Prince of Peace. I hear it in the council leadership. I hear it in the people who, especially with Social Club, just are so committed to this church being here, to supporting it, to being part of it, and really continuing to give what's vital of themselves to this church. When I started working with the Council of Prince of Peace a few years back, I was pretty new. And I was learning some of the history that the church had had year to year, trying to get by the years when they had a pastor, the years when they didn't have a pastor. One of the members of the council told us at a group meeting when they were describing this history, she said that they were just stubborn. And that really stuck with me because there is a stubborn spirit among the surviving members, the ones who have stayed through the turmoil and through the fear. There's a stubborn spirit, a determination, and I sense that's really God's spirit. A conviction that Prince of Peace still has a purpose and a mission, a place on Colorado Boulevard to be this community of faith. That spirit of stubbornness shows up when they're challenged and when they have that attitude of, well, we could do this if. That's not even a question. We're just going to do it, that spirit says, because we have to. I've seen it with Social Club because that is one ministry of this church that is necessary, that people refuse to give up on.
As many times as we've wondered why we're still here, we always get the answer. We're here. We're a vital ministry to the chronically mentally ill community. We have a program we do called Social Club. It's been going on for 34 years, and various boarding homes that the people live in and ones that live on their own all come here once a month. We have a dinner and an activity, simple activities like a talent show or bingo with prizes. And they come together as a community. For many of them, it's the only time they leave their boarding home.
We feel that we are welcoming to people that would not be desired as part of another congregation.
We go sit at the tables with them and talk to them and make them feel welcome. And they think of us as their friends, and they're our friends. For many of them, this is the closest thing to church they'll ever have.
We just know that they're welcomed here, and they know that they're welcomed here.
People feel safe in Social Club. They call this their church, even if they're not part of our Sunday morning congregation. An important part of our worship together is setting a table and inviting people to a meal that changes them. And at Social Club, people are invited for a meal, and a table is set, and they are welcomed. And we hope that they're changed and transformed somehow together through the work of the volunteers, through the call of the church, and through their experience when they share that time and their activities and that life together. The people who are together for that one time, a special meal, it means a great deal to gather, and it's an honor for the church to facilitate that. It's an outreach of Prince of Peace that the people here at church value deeply. I see that in their commitment to it. I see that in their opening up of their wallets, their time. They give so much to make sure that Social Club continues to be an outreach of this church and invite people to participate in a way that is important, significant, and encourages people to be who they are together in a very safe way.
I come here and it's this sense of peace that comes over you. Like the loving and forgiving, and such a wonderful group. My faith is 10 times stronger since I came here. I was baptized as a little kid and went through confirmation and all of that. But to live and walk as a Christian with the light shining through me, reaching out to people in need, connecting with people I pass on the street, not shoving them out of my way. I'm like a different person now than I was 5 years ago. It's become such a central part of my life.
I think we have a beautiful thing that's going on here, a beautiful thing that the world needs. I was visiting with one of our members a short while ago who has been more and more involved in our church. And I called her up to see if she was going to come to one of our events. And the answer she gave me was very touching. She said, "Yes, I think I'd like to come tonight and be with my friends." And that's what they're becoming. They're my friends. And that's the embrace that warms a pastor's heart. When people can feel safe and welcomed and honored for what they bring of themselves to church. When we worship together and when we gather, we share our lives, and we do it with the love of Christ shining through us and in us and among us. People count on this as a safe place to come and to be together. I think that's what church is in its very most basic, is a group of people called to be together as they are and experience community and love and grace. There was a time years back when Prince of Peace was not thought to be a viable church. There was some pressure to combine with another congregation. There was some pressure to close the church and use the building for another purpose. But this stubborn spirit kept a church here. And as I've heard the stories, people talk about needing to have a church on the corner of Colorado and Wesley, because that's important to bear a witness to the gospel. And that stubbornness is keeping this church here today. We have a tradition in the Lutheran Church that includes a good deal of stubbornness. We're sons and daughters of German reformers who were stubborn. Martin Luther, I've got a biography called "Here I Stand," because he stood and said, "Here I stand, I can do no other." And maybe that's something of the spirit of those stubborn people here at Prince of Peace, that here we stand as witness to the gospel, carrying out a message of welcome and love, forgiveness and salvation to all. The determination to keep that ministry going is stubbornness, but beautiful stubbornness.